Daniel Dubois, he's growing up using his big boy language.
Put some respect on my name, bitch.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Daniel, what was that?
Put some respect on my name, bitch.
So what we have is Daniel Dubois, and this is on a more serious note. While he said this in the same sort of interview with Queensbury, dropping the B word, unexpected from Dubois. I mean, I was just cracking up when I reposted it on Twitter. Unexpected. Maybe even unexpected for himself to say. But what he has said, and this was, you could probably hear Dev Sani in the background of that clip. He was interviewing Dubois, saying, of his interim IBF title, I won that in the fight. That was a world title fight, and I won it. So yeah, I'm a legitimate world champion, and put some respect on my name. And this raises the conundrum, which I think it seems to be it's never quite one thing when boxing fans are discussing it across sanctioning bodies. Well, is an interim world title, a secondary title, a world championship? Is it a part of the heavyweight championship? And views do divide here. And it seems to be that one sanctioning body is a little bit more successful than others, than creating that illusion. But what I would say is that, when guys have recently won an interim title, say Joe Joyce, he won the WBO interim title, Zhang had it, then Parker's got it, was anyone calling them a world champion? As it was with the IBF interim title that Filip Hrgović had, was anyone calling him a world champion? And when fighters win a legitimate piece of one of the four major titles that are currently held, three by Alexander Usyk, and the IBF is vacant, and that's going to be contested when Daniel Dubois faces Anthony Joshua. And if Dubois wins that is a case of he would be a legitimate world champion in my view. So this insistence that secondary world titles are world titles of repute and a full piece of the world title, I don't agree with. Laying my cards on the table there, some people are not going to agree with that. And the WBA, I think, has been the most successful in convincing fans that their regular title, which is a secondary belt, and this is the thing, a secondary title, what is it? So it's second to the main belt. An interim title is second to the main belt. The regular title is second to the main belt. Currently, you have the WBA title held by Alexander Usyk, for example. You've got Mahmoud Shah holding that regular title. Mahmoud Shah has been parading around for years that he's a world champion holding what is a secondary title. So is he a world champion? And I guess one of the conversations that comes up quite often when you talk about this subject, or at least, in my mind at least, maybe it's a conversation I'm having with myself more than others, I think certain parts of the world, maybe where they don't have as much boxing success, will latch on to these secondary titles more than others. I think the best case that I sometimes think about is Lucas Brown in the WBA regular title. He is described in Australia as a former world champion, but guys that have held that belt, even Daniel Dubois held that regular title. Was he a world champion then? People weren't calling him a world champion. He took that off Trevor Bryan. I mean, Trevor Bryan called himself a world champion, but did anyone take him seriously? And sometimes does it come down to how serious we take a fighter about how we consider the secondary title or interim title, as a legitimate title? Is that part of it too? Or is it just because we know that these sanctioning bodies are trying to clip the ticket, they're trying to get extra sanctioning fees for titles that, don't really need to exist, but the sanctioning bodies need to make money to exist? There's, there's a precarious path that the sanctioning bodies play in the sport, and you have the fighters that are trying to walk that path and claim, certain liberties, say with these interim or regular titles, as it were. And like I say, I think the WBA has been the most successful because originally the regular title, it was their main title, and then it got downgraded effectively when they had a super champion. And you have, for several years, someone holding what is considered the main title, which makes the second title, the regular title, a secondary title. Or in this case for the IBF or WBO, which you've got Dubois and also Parker holding versions of at the moment, they are secondary titles. And when these guys, if and when they win titles, the main title, it will be presented as, for Dubois, winning a world title for the first time. Guarantee that's what's going to be in the media for the most part. Or for Parker, it'll say two-time heavyweight champion. I haven't really sort of seen people going, Parker, as a result of picking up this interim title in the WBO, is a two-time heavyweight champion. Doesn't it all ring just a little bit hollow? So you've got him saying, I'm a legitimate world champion and put some respect on my name. Was he saying that with the WBA regular title when he held it? I don't really recall that. And I don't really recall fans recognizing him as a champion of, a main belt, because he hasn't held one. But it's interesting with the respect question, because when he was asked about did he disrespect Anthony Joshua, he says disrespect is not the right word, and this is for their face-off for the upcoming fight. He says, we're in boxing. Is there respect in that ring? At the end of the day, this is a fight. If you want respect, go and become a lawyer. So how do you marry up him demanding respect but then telling another fighter you're not going to get respect? So should we be respecting this secondary title of Daniel Dubois? Do you see the point that I'm making? Maybe he should also become a lawyer and take his own advice. But, I have to admit, hearing that clip was super funny. I think we have to respect Daniel Dubois for coming back after, the loss to Joe Joyce, the loss to Alexander Usyk. There was that controversial moment with the punches on the body, on the belt line, where he clearly hurt Usyk and he was down and hurt. But since then, you've had Daniel Dubois coming back, fighting the likes of Jarrell Miller, hard fight with Filip Hrgović, and now he's in a fight at Wembley with Anthony Joshua. He's a serious fighter, a tough contender. But is he a world champion as he says? He wants the respect. Does he deserve the respect that he says he should have for holding that interim title? I think we have to respect him as a fighter, as a warrior. He's had some good contender level wins. He's overcome adversity. But I can't put respect on an interim title. That's just me. Let me know your thoughts on that. And also, we'll just cover as well, Dubois says he wants to stay active. He says, having fought Alexander Usyk, Filip Hrgović, and Anthony Joshua in the space of 13 months, he says, I think it's great having that momentum. All the great heavyweight champions of history were very busy in their primes, fighting often and perfecting their skills. I think it's the best thing for me to be active. Better now than later. When I'm old and I can't train properly, I need to do it now. This is perfect time. This is why I need to beat Anthony Joshua. And it's a good fight. Both these guys have built their confidence back up after different, trainer changes, overcoming adversity, losses that perhaps weren't expected at certain points in their career, and now they're potentially 100,000 fans going to be cheering them on later in September. You got to commend Dubois for that, but does he deserve some of the respect for the interim IBF title? I'm not so sure. Let me know. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.